Very big show for you tonight. Very big show. Andrew Tate just attacked Sneako. He leaked messages. These two literally need to fight now. And I don't care that Sneako doesn't know how to fight. He needs to fight Andrew Tate. We're going to get into all that tonight. Plus, we're going to get into the streaming situation that is taking over the UFC and MMA in general between Brand Risk, MVP, Jake Paul. The influencers are infiltrating, and now we've got MMA fighters doing more streaming than they are fighting. We're going to get into all that. It's causing major problems. We're going to break that down. We're going to get into Marab and Neon streaming together. I know Marab. I've trained with him a lot, and I've met Neon. We're going to get into that. Plus, we got a request. I put out a request. Hey, what do you guys want me to talk about? I put that out on my Instagram. We got a request for aliens. We got a request for Nina Drama. We got a request for Brendan Schaub. We got a request for a fight breakdown between Hokit and Alex Pereira, and if they're going to fight or not. We're going to get into all of that, guys. I am your host, King David MMA. I'm a professional MMA champion, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I coach and I train at the best gym in the world, and that's not me saying it. It's been voted best gym of the world multiple times. Extreme Couture, guys. We have a big show for you today. I want to say thank you to everybody who is joining live right now. And if you guys subscribe, I appreciate you. Okay? Because here's the thing. If you tap that button and it feels good and it says you subscribed, then I can appreciate you. But if you don't do that, what am I going to appreciate you for? Listen, it's a win-win, man. It's only upside, guys. So like the video, subscribe if you want to subscribe. Hop in the chat if you are feeling chatty. We're going to get this popping in 2 seconds. Let me drop something in the chat real quick, and then we're going to get going, guys. Make sure you send your coach to studiomillions.com. Studio Millions will pack your coach's gym full of students who stay, pay, and refer. How do I know that? How can I make that bold claim? Well, we did a test and an experiment at a couple local gyms, one of which was able to get $2 million in sales in 18 months. And I'd like to do the same for your coach. So I'll put that in the chat. Make sure you tap that, send your coach there. They will love you for it. All right, guys. So tonight we have a big show for you. Andrew Tate has made severe allegations against Sneako. Sneako, my take is this, guys. Sneako needs to fight Andrew Tate. This fight needs to happen. I understand that Andrew Tate is a 4-time world kickboxing champion, and I understand that Sneako doesn't have any professional MMA fights or any fights at all. Kickboxing, anything. Sneako needs to fight this man at this point because Tate went in on him. Tate dropped a video. He dropped the video. I'm late. He dropped the video a few days ago, but it's circulating. Now it hit my X feed. We got John Dong in the chat. What's up, bro? Hey, and Andrew Tate said that Sneako tried to have sex with him. Those are fighting words. I don't care where you're from. I don't care what unless you are of that 1% that is for all of that. Those are fighting words. Andrew Tate made this fucking video montage. And the video montage goes in on Sneako. He's dropping text messages. He's leaking personal conversations. He's showing videos where Sneako's talking about how Sneako used to watch his chick get down with people. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy, guys. Andrew Tate went in on Sneako so freaking hard. Sneako has to fight him now. And that's a fight I've been wanting to see, but I was like, this fight will never happen because Sneako's not a real fighter. But Sneako keeps talking about Andrew Tate, and what's Andrew going to do? Sit back and be silent? He's got to clap back. But the problem is, it's now escalated so high to a point of a fever pitch that they got to scrap. They just got to. They have to, guys. I mean, obviously, Andrew Tate beat Sneako, but there was a time when there was someone who went on to be a 185-pound UFC world champion, and they were at the gym, and they had a problem with me. They didn't like the fact that I wear bracelets. And keep in mind, this bracelet was handmade. This is real silver. My girlfriend handmade this for me. She's a Chinese genius, 4.0 at Berkeley, dime piece, international beauty pageant winning model with 500,000 subscribers on social medias. Dime. She made me this because she loves me and she wanted to make me a gift. This is handmade. She picked all these out herself. And now I got this dude hating on me for wearing bracelets, calling me all types of alphabet community member. He said I like a variety of colors in my flag. You know what I mean? And I'm like, bruh, that is not why I'm wearing this bracelet, bro. And it wasn't this bracelet, but I've been known to wear bracelets. Anyways, this gentleman who's got a lot of hot takes on Twitter right now, and he's going in on all kinds of people, and he always is. And he may have got arrested recently or whatever, but at the time, he and I didn't really know each other, and he had not won a belt yet. And I was at a gym, and he was at the same gym. And this dude was beating the fuck out of everybody at the gym. We were like, man, this guy's different, bro. This guy's gonna be somebody. Well, being a 145 pounder, and I've actually fought at 150 pounds. So in theory, I'm a 145 pounder, but that's just based on my bone structure and my weight compared to the other guys that fight at 145. I fight up just to win belts and shit like that. But you know, it's no big deal. Who's counting? Anyways, so I got this dude at the gym and he's really, really high level and he's calling me out over bracelet wearing. And then I clapped back at him. I said some stuff about, you know, what I thought about his takes on the world. Anyways, now we're beefing. And he's like, you know what, Dave? He's like, are you coming in tomorrow? Because we should spar. And that's like a direct threat. That's like basically saying we're fighting, right? Because he and I have no business sparring each other. We're not even in the same weight class, anything like that. And then I'm like, all right, bro, I'll be in here. Now he bounces, hops on his motorcycle, pops out. Everybody is like, dude, you cannot spar that guy. Don't spar him. He's going to fucking try and kill you. Don't spar that guy. Don't spar that guy. And I said, man, listen, one of two things is going to happen. I'm going to get my ass beat, or I got to accept being punked. And I'm not a punk. So I said, I hit him with the Max Holloway. It is what it is. I had accepted my fate because this person competes at such a high level in martial arts that it was only downhill for me to spar them in the manner that we were talking about, like sparring each other. Now, he bounced out. He ended up sparring somebody in California. He was out of the gym for a while. In the interim, he had fact checked my credentials with people who he respects and trusts. And he came back to me and he was like, hey, brother, I was wrong about you. And then me and him, we got along amicably from there without having to scrap. But I wasn't out here trying to be Billy Badass saying I was going to beat the dude up. I was just saying, bro, listen, you're not going to punk me, dog. You can beat me up, bro. I will fight you. I will try and win. I will try and crack you upside your head and KO you stiff, bro. And I'm willing to lose, bro. But I'm not willing to get punked. Okay. And that's where Sneako's at with Andrew Tate. Sneako cannot let this man who's got one of the biggest platforms on the planet. At one point, he was the most Googled man on the planet. And shortly thereafter, he followed me on X and retweeted me. My phone went crazy and he broke my phone. That's how many notifications I got. So anyways, that's neither here nor there. I'm just, name dropping to name drop, right? But anyway, so Andrew Tate has a huge platform and he's publicly shaming Sneako. He's making accusations. He's questioning his masculinity and his religion. He's saying that boys liking boys is haram, bro. And he's like, that ain't Muslim, dog. So they gotta fight. They have to fight. Sneako has to fight Andrew Tate now. And even though he's going to lose, he has to accept the ass beating because he's either going to get his ass beat or he's going to get punked. And he cannot allow himself to get punked. At least that's how I view the world. So that's a little insight into my psyche, guys. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's the way I operate. All right, dude, is this fucking camera like super blurry to you guys? Is that better? Did we just clean up the stream, guys? Did we just clean up the freaking stream? Oh, now we're looking crispy. Let me adjust this too. I'm gonna bring that in just a little. Ooh! All right, and I don't know if does it sound better in here? I'm trying to get this audio right. I'm trying to get this visual right. I got the software. I broke the software. So that's why we're back to things appearing in reverse order instead of readable, correct order. Anyway, let me check the chat right now. Guys, let me know what you think. If someone calls you out, says that a man has been saying that you've been trying to hook up with him because that's why you're obsessed with him, is because they denied your man-on-man advances. They are claiming that you are of the alphabet variety. They say you like rainbow flags. They say that you have had a past where you have watched your significant other get abused by other men in the bedroom. Like, he's saying a lot about the guy. Would you, even if you're gonna lose, let me know in the chat. Would you just fight the guy? Like, am I tripping? Does Sneako have to fight? Sneako has to fight him. He has to. There's no other way. You got it, bro. If Sneako doesn't fight Andrew Tate, Sneako's cooked, bro. He can never talk again. Because what's really happening is this. Sneako is going to continue to say bad things about Tate. Tate is going to say the worst things ever. Sneako's going to continue to not fight Tate. Tate's going to say, hey, man, I will beat you up at any time. If Sneako were to press Tate, like in person, Tate would either have to beat him up and beat him up, and then Sneako would call the cops. Let's say, you're not going to beat me up, I'll call the cops. Dude, you're asking other men to protect you from a man, bro. Like, you get what I'm saying, guys? Like, Sneako's whole existence, that he's allowed to talk about people the way he is online, he can't fight. So he's in a proxy where he's got men protecting him through society, like police officers and the court of law and everything. That's actually going to be enforced by men. So he's got men protecting him against another man who would beat him up on sight for the things he's saying. But Sneako is playing a loophole in modern society where he's able to say out-of-pocket things to people who he should not be allowed to speak to like that, because he doesn't have the credentials to speak about them like that. But he's going to rely on the strength of other men to protect him from that strong man who he's criticizing, who would beat him up if it weren't for the law enforcement officers he's going to call. You get what I'm saying? So Doug, you can't go out like that. I get that's how society's built. I get that. But like, as someone who wakes up in the morning and looks themselves in the mirror, bro, you got to be able to look at yourself in the mirror. You got to have self-esteem. Sneako, fight Andrew Tate, bro. Tell him, hey, man, I'm sick of you talking. I'm going to scrap you, bro. That's what he needs to do. Let me read the chat real quick, guys. Who do you think would have given Khabib a tougher fight? Prime Tony Ferguson or prime Beneil Dariush? That's a great question. Let me think about that for 30 seconds. We got Tyler, James, Taekwondo Kid in the chat. What's up, coach? Hey, guys. This man, he's like 14. He just won another belt. So he's winning belts. You know what I'm saying? We win belts around here, guys. That's what we do. When I tell you Extreme Couture is the best gym on the planet, we're held to a standard. It's like, hey, go win belts or get off the mat. They literally tell us in pro practice, hey, guys, circle up. Hey, there's a lot of you on the mat today. Some of you guys were training. Some of you guys were dragging ass. Who here wants to be a world champion? If you didn't raise your hand, get off the mat. We don't need you. We only want people here who want to be world champions. So anyways, shout out to Tyler. He won another, like a kid's amateur title, like a teens amateur title. So shout out to him. We got Tycoon Troy. What's up? Didn't Sneako turn down a fight with him for $1 million? Bro, he should. I'm not advocating violence in the street. Sneako should steal on that man, bro. Like, not that he should do it in the street, but he's got to do it. He's got to do it. He's got to fight him. I'd let him mofo beat me up for $1 million. Dude, he's getting $1 million, and he'll at least get the credentials of like, hey, bro, you beat me up, but you didn't punk me. He can at least get that aura. You know what I mean? he could get that. And right now he's not even doing it, and he's not getting the bag. So he's just going to continue to talk about him. And Andrew Tate would bounce his head off the floor if it weren't for Sneako's willingness to call the cops on Andrew Tate for doing it. You get what I'm saying? So he's hiding, bro. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I know what you're thinking. You're talking about him. Yeah, but I will fight. You get what I'm saying? That's the difference. Right? Okay. We got Tyler in the chat. Make it happen, Jake Paul. Yeah, dude. So that's the right line of thinking. We need one of these influencer boxings to make this happen. The most important thing to note is that Andrew Tate is part owner of Misfits Boxing and Misfits MMA or whatever. They have all kinds of fights, or they plan to. They can fight. The CEO, Mams Taylor, offered Sneako money. Sneako's turning down 7 figures and allowing this man to talk about him. That's crazy. We got John Dong. You know what a boxing match I want to see? Strickland versus Jake Paul. Dude, I've thought about that a lot. Strickland is the only person who's Jake Paul's size that's from MMA that I believe would really, really beat the brakes off Jake Paul. I know everybody believes that Jake Paul is a YouTuber and that he can't fight and that it's all a gimmick and that these fights are rigged and all that shit. Like, I get all that. I understand what their point. They can't process the fact that like the dude that dedicated himself so feverishly to Vine and YouTube that was allowed, he could take that same obsession and just point it into boxing with all the money in the world and world-class coaches and training 3 practices a day and focusing 100% on boxing. They can't process that he could get good at boxing, even though it's a learned skill. But he did. He got good at boxing. So there's a lot of people that call out Jake Paul that would get beat up. I'm talking dudes in the UFC. I'm talking retired guys. 99% of these guys are not going to beat Jake Paul in a boxing match. Who would beat Jake Paul? Well, one, Jake Paul's talking about Francis. He needs to stop talking about Francis because Francis will re-break his face like Anthony Joshua did. But Francis is Francis is probably 290 pounds, to be honest, with like abs. He cuts to 265. Francis is a very giant person. Strickland is more Jake Paul's size, where Strickland fights at 185 pounds. Strickland versus Jake Paul. I know Jake Paul thinks that he would beat Strickland because of Strickland's style, but I have personally been in the gym and witnessed Sean Strickland bring in ranked professional boxers. I'm talking 20 wins, ranked, up-and-comers, people fighting for belts. And Strickland has not only beat the fucking brakes off them in boxing, in their rule set. He doesn't even do MMA with them. He boxes them. And he's beat the brakes off them. And then they quit. I've seen it. This isn't me speculating. Some dork's going to tell me in the comments, no, actually, Strickland can't box. His fundamentals are flawed. Dude, shut up. I've seen it. I've been there. So that's the thing. So if you guys check the comment section on my last few videos, there's people dropping like the worst takes. And it's not even an attack on me. It's just like, bro, your take is so bad, bro. That like I feel concerned for you as a person because you can't process information. That's how bad the takes are. Now there's a lot of great takes too. And I've been getting a ton of positive feedback. Everybody liked the video I did on Nina Drama, where I broke down why Nina Drama's confused and why she says men are mean to her online, and the societal contract that's unspoken in the world that Nina Drama is using to her benefit, but at the same time not understanding why there's also repercussions with it. So if you guys have not seen the Nina Drama crashes out on her own fans video, go watch that after you get off this one, because that one has got more positive feedback than any video I've done in a long time. And I love it because that's the type of video that I really enjoy doing, like where we get into the nuances of society and when we can really look at things from different angles and understand this person did this, but why would they do that? And this person reacted like that, but they're not seeing why that person. Yeah, we get deep in that video. So if you're into like getting deep on the inner workings of society and men and women and what Nina's doing and why she's getting her view count up, but she's getting such negative comments. We get into all that, man. And yeah, the societal contract is broken and Nina is benefiting from it and getting trashed about it. And then she crashed out on her fans. So go watch that video if you're into that. All right. Also, let me read the chat. Sneako can stand up for himself and get paid, or talk shit online and maybe get paid. Strickland gave Sneako an allergy to getting in a ring. Yeah, man. Strickland put hands on him. I still think Strickland was going light. My boy Josh Silva was in the chat the other day, and he's like, "Oh, bro, I don't know if that was light." And I'm like, "Bro, I still think that was light." Do you think Jake Paul would KO Yo Romero in a boxing match? Dude, that's an interesting match. That's an interesting match. Yo Romero, because Yo Romero. So one, Yo's also hard to hit because his traps are up to here. So I've sparred Chris Curtis several times, and Chris Curtis has a similar body type with like huge traps and shoulders. So with boxing gloves on, there's not a lot to hit, right? So Yo's also very springy and explosive. So I think Jake Paul could win that match and maybe try and stick and move, but I don't believe he would. I don't think he would KO Yoel. Yoel might KO him. That's a crazy match. I'd like to see that actually. I'd be very curious. Especially if it was Yoel a few years ago. Because right now, if Yoel doesn't do well, even though he's a genetic freak, people will blame it on his age and that Jake Paul fights old MMA fighters. But Yoel's a specimen. That would be an interesting matchup. Yeah, that'd be wild. Fuck, dude. Yoel just fucking was he blast? Who'd he blast double in RAF? He blast doubled like a national champion. And I think he tech fought him. Do you think Tom Aspinall ever fights in the UFC again? I don't think it's looking good for him. Tyler, you're making a great point. Tom's in a situation. So here's what's going on. They did a interview. Ariel Helwani did an interview with Josh Hokett. And in that interview, he asked Josh Hokett, what's next? Josh Hokett says, there's a lot of money on the line. I don't want to mess up a title shot. I'm not going to announce anything. Now, you would think that means Josh Hokett's getting a title shot. What that often can mean is they're going to Tom Aspinall and saying, hey, bro, we've got a verbal agreement from Josh Hokett. We're going to move on without you unless you go fight Cyril Gane right now. So they could be putting pressure on Tom Aspinall to stay in his contract without renegotiating for more money because they are literally prepared to move on without him. So if Tom says anything about his eyes, if he says anything about contract negotiation, they have the leverage already having Hokett verbally agreed to fight Cyril Gane. Then they're like, hey man, if they choose to move on, they could just move straight on. So yeah, if Tom does not play this right and Eddie Hearn fucks this up for Tom, yeah, then Tom's cooked. Tom is absolutely cooked. That actually might happen because Jake only fights non-fighters, old dudes. Yeah, so that fight, it could be a possibility, right? I was thinking that a matchup that's somewhat realistic. Yoel is still fairly active. He does bare knuckle, but I don't know if he's big enough name for Jake. Yeah, so that's the issue too, right? Jake's trying to fight Francis Ngannou, even though Jake will not win that fight. If Jake fucking pulls that off, man, I don't know. I don't even know what to say anymore. I already think boxing's fake, and not like it's rigged. I think it's an extremely limited rule set that does not have much to do with reality, personally. Yeah, Tyler James, that's exactly what I was thinking. Also, Tyler, you wrote on Instagram, you want to know about Hokett versus Alex Pereira. Yeah, so let me know what you think about this too, because I feel like Hokett could fight Alex very similar to how he fought Derek Lewis, where he's just like boom, boom, in and out, in and out. Then once that rhythm gets established, break the rhythm, shoot the takedown, get the takedown, put Alex on his back. Alex is going to have a lot of challenges. He's going to have a lot of challenges getting back up and wrestling up from the bottom against Hokett without taking damage or getting submitted. And I believe Josh Hokett was trolling with that armbar. I don't think he actually wanted to finish it. I did see Derek Lewis's shoulder off the mat, which gives you more leeway in the arm. So if you guys, and I'm specifically talking to Tyler here because I know he competes in, he's very active with his martial arts. If you guys go watch Craig Jones versus Gordon Ryan in EBI, Craig Jones puts Gordon Ryan in in an armbar for like a minute straight and is just bringing it back and forth across his body. And Gordon Ryan does a couple things, but one of them is he brings his shoulder off the mat, which allows for more range of motion with his arm. So that's one way to defend against the arm bar long enough to then have multiple attempts at escaping the arm bar, right? So there's the control, right? And then there's the finish, right? So by getting your shoulder off the mat, you can prolong the finish, and that allows you to fight out of the control. So Derek Lewis had a similar position, but I also believe that that wasn't like Derek Lewis really actively trying to get out. I think that was more Josh Hokett like trolling for the camera and making faces and sticking his tongue out and stuff. Yeah, Alex had bad movement in his last fight. Looked way too robotic. Was definitely trolling. Yeah, 100. Dude, yeah, and so that's the issue, right? Did Alex put on too much weight? Everybody was being super sus and talking about Alex having a BBL. But was that BBL slowing him down, guys? That's, you know what I mean? That's what we talk about on here. We talk about the hot topics. Was the BBL slowing him down? Like, come on. You know what I mean? But no, for real though, like, I don't mean to put it like that, but like, was the extra weight slowing the guy down? But he also does kind of plod in general, right? He's not like Mr. bouncing on his toes in and out. He's not like a Taekwondo practitioner. You know what I'm saying? He's like a plotter. Also, guys, I've been thinking a lot about aliens, and this is another question that I got asked to speak about on this because I posted on Instagram. I'm like, you know what, man? Let me see what you guys are into, right? And one big topic that came up was aliens. Now, the government, see, now we're going to get, this is the weird part of the night. We were doing the fighting, we were doing the celebrity influencer drama. Now we're getting weird. Okay. So I see these people, right? So the reason I'm bringing this up this way is because it points to an overarching concept. So one of my teammates, she is 2-0 as an amateur. She's got great potential. She drives a certain type of vehicle, and someone else drives a similar vehicle. And she always parks next to this person at the gym, right? Because we're in this huge complex. We have this big parking lot. There's like all these buildings, right? And so this row of parking is essentially where everybody at the gym parks. So she has never seen who drives this car. And she's like, I wonder which one of our teammates drives this car because I park next to this car all the time. Now, I know who drives the car. So I asked her, because I'm into the Socratic method, which is asking people questions so that they can come to the answer through their own thought process rather than like just telling people what to think, you know? So, and I'll do this in martial arts. Like if I'm teaching a private lesson, I'll ask a question that gets the person to realize the answer on their own. That way they internalize it more and they get more out of the lesson. So, anyways, I'm like, let me ask you this. You're saying you wonder which teammate of yours drives that similar car to you. But why do you assume that the person you park next to is parking here to go to our gym rather than one of the other buildings? Now she's like, well, it's the gym's parking lot. But like, is it? Because there's other parking lots around us, but for this exact entrance door on the building that's behind the gym, this parking spot is the closest to that door. It's actually closer to that door for that building than it is to our building. Okay. Dude works there. He just parks by the fighters or the team or the members for Extreme Couture because it's close to his door. It's the shortest route. Anyways, But if one were only thinking of who it could be at the gym, one would never come to the conclusion as to who could possibly be the driver or owner of this vehicle. How does this relate to aliens? This is what we do here. Why do we assume aliens are coming from out there? Because everybody's like, oh, this means that there's anti-gravity and there's free energy and the UFO files and the government's releasing this stuff on UAPs. And it's like, just as a thought experiment, and I don't believe this at all. This is not true. What I'm about to say is completely fabricated nonsense, hypothetical thought experiment, not to get you to believe this at all. It's just to get you to think about the way questions and answers are posed. Well, if the UFOs got here, that means they're using a different type of physics. If the UFOs got here, that means they can travel faster than the speed of light or they can shrink space-time. If the UFOs got here, well, that means there's some type of energy source out there that makes them like, so that's based on the assumption that they got here from there. What if they're in the ocean? What if the alien base is in the ocean? What if all these things we're seeing are people? It's like some civilization, Atlanteans or whatever. You know what I mean? Anything. It could be anything. It could be anybody, right? What if they're in the ocean? What if? What if? And this is not true at all. This is not a theory. This isn't anything. I'm saying this as a fiction to get someone to. This is a thought experiment. It's for us to have fun thinking. Like we're going to use our minds together, guys. And so I really enjoy thinking about things that don't exist. Like when I see people on Instagram reels talking about the earth not being a globe and there's an ice wall and there's lands beyond that, right? Like, then one could go, wow, if these fictional people who are making up this fictional story actually believed, which they're wrong, that there's lands beyond the ice wall, well, then these aliens could just be coming from back there. And then you would hypothesize, oh, so maybe the drop of the UFO files and UAP files is an actual disclosure, which is weird because it dropped at the same time Steven Spielberg dropped a movie called Disclosure Day, and he says he has no information. And it's just a fucking random coincidence. But like, one would think, what better way to cover up that this is all a plane instead of a ball, and there's a wall of ice, and that there's beings that live beyond that. If we could just tell everybody that there's like 90 trillion miles away, they're warping space time and getting here, right? You know what I'm saying? But like maybe like as a fantasy, like I'm just writing a fantasy novel in my head, right? Out loud. Like as a fantasy novel, wouldn't that be an interesting take that like, wow, the government is actually lying by disclosing the wrong thing that's adjacent to the right thing so that we don't look at the right thing. You know what I mean? Like hypothetically as a fiction. You like complete I don't and I know you guys are thinking I'm being sarcastic right now. Like I don't actually believe that. I think the aliens are coming from 90 million miles away and they have figured out how to travel through space and defy gravity and gravitational like and g forces on them in metal craft, and they look exactly like us, just gray with bigger heads, because that's the most likely scenario, that something 93 trillion miles away would have the same body shape and style as we do, which is bipedal with arms. And yeah, you know what I mean? Like that's the most likely scenario, right? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Let me read the chat. Oh my God, let's go. Space is fake and gay. The government is only disclosing aliens to throw us off. Aliens come from outer space. The space outside. Bro, you get what I'm Doug, this is crazy because we both have the same fictional idea at the same time. That's nuts, bro. NASA and the school system already wrote the fantasy novel for us all. Oh, NASA. Yeah. So, dude, here's the cold part. Here's the cold part. We all know that this is fun to talk about. We could joke around, but like we all know, NASA's real. We're on a ball, the ball's spinning at thousands of miles an hour, and then the moon is always facing us and spinning, and then 90, what is it? 90, I think they say the sun's 93 million miles away. The sun is, but it's just at the exact right time that it causes an eclipse when they go in front of each other because this thing's close enough to us, but it's just far away enough that it's going to block out the sun at the same time. And then we're spinning around that, and then that's spinning through the thing, and everything's spinning, and water in any scenario would find a level plane, except when it's on a ball spinning through space. Anyways, so I'm not saying that anybody writing a fantasy story about anything other than that has any anything worth thinking about, because that's crazy. Like, we're talking crazy talk, right? That the government would mislead us for some reason. That's nah, dude. They but like, I mean, what's more likely? I don't know. 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 Maybe all the alien. Let's meet in the middle, guys. The aliens are coming from the oceans. You know what I'm saying? Can we agree that maybe that, because you see them going into the water, you see them come out of the water. Can we agree that maybe there's a base in the ocean and that they're not necessarily getting here from fucking 10 trillion miles away, hypothetically? Or if they are, that's cool too. Like, I'm from the show me state. So we're gonna need to see some proof. You know what I mean? And I don't mean like, oh wait, there's some phenomenon in the sky and oh that proves it's real. No, I mean, like, can we get a scientific proof of how this technology would work? You know? Pretty soon you will need a government license to make toast in your own toaster. Yeah, so it's an interesting time, right? Like, you can't collect rainwater. Like, there's a lot of wild laws. You can't interact with dolphins. You cannot have a crow as a pet. Just for no reason. Those all the dinosaur bones are allegedly in museums are replicas because the real bones are locked away somewhere that nobody can ever see or anything. And then that leads people to crazily theorize that, like, oh, every society in history has talked about dragons and that humans lived with dragons. And then that would also line up with the everything is like this theory. And then that would also line up with more of a timeline that's described in, like, I don't know, major religious texts that doesn't have anything to do with, like, I don't know, evolutionary, you know what I mean? And then you would start going, oh, okay, so then it really is the good guys versus the bad guys. And then what did they say the leader of the bad guys does? He deceives, right? That's what he does. Why? So that you don't know your power, because he can't block your blessings, but he can manipulate the physical world, which is, some people would say, his plane, and he can get you to mentally be deceived from the blessings and the image in which you were created, like, hypothetically speaking, if we're going off on tangents, right? Anyways, they scare the dolphins would tell you truth about the aliens in the ocean. Dude, man, so there's these reels of a dude who went in the ocean, and the dolphins kidnapped him. The dolphins took him down, and they had him working on, like, a very complex structure, several structures, and like, he was essentially working on an underground town. And anyways, he comes up, goes to the hospital. They check him out. He's got no brain damage. He's got no sign of drugs. There's nothing like wrong with him in that regard. He does have, like, salt water in his lungs, and, like, they check him out for everything, and it's like, dude, it seems like you've been underwater for a really long time. And then it turns out, as this reel says, uh, that he used to work at, like, a like a science. He's got a degree in science, and he worked at like an engineering company. And it's like, oh, really? And what did you engineer? And it's like, oh, I engineered underwater installations for the government. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like it got really crazy. Like it went 0 to 100. So look up dolphin reels on Instagram, and you might start seeing some really really fun stuff to look into. But yeah, man. So it's funny because I'll bring this up in private lessons when I'm teaching at the gym, and so the same student who parks next to the other student that's not actually a student, but because we park there, we're more likely to believe that the person parked next to us parks there, even though there's no reason to believe that to be true, right? Like I'll bring up, like you're gonna body slam them onto the earth, and because this surface is flat, you know what I mean? And then we start talking about that, and then it's crazy. Half the time the students really rock with it, and then half the time they're like, bro, go to college, dude. What are you talking about? Yeah, so we have fun with it, guys. We have fun with it. And then you know, one could start to extrapolate from the theory that maybe everything we know isn't like what we know. You know what I mean? And then you start getting into like there are some benefits to believing the narrative because it gives you like a structure in which to operate, like a mental model. Like, oh hey, this things are what they are, as opposed to like the potential alternate mental model, which is like what is it? Plato's allegory of the cave, where everyone is like backlit and they're looking at shadows on the wall, but they don't know there's like reality behind them. And anybody that tries to tell them that there's actual reality, they don't want to believe it. They just want to believe in the shadows and like the forms and all that. And so, like, I'm looking at a table, I got my iPhone up here, right? Well, I'm processing these through my senses. So I'm getting, let's call it 5 fields of information, right? Sight, touch, taste, smell. What did I say? Sound, right? So I didn't say sound. That was the last one, sound. But what's outside of that? What if we slow the table down? What if we go subatomic on the table? Right? So what I'm seeing here is a representation so that I can process it, because what's actually happening is trillions and trillions and trillions of bits of information that my brain couldn't process, right? Like, so the same way that if you have an icon on your phone for an app, your brain doesn't have to process every process that's happening in the app. You could just tap on the little camera and Instagram pops up, right? But that's not actually what's happening in the background. There's no actual neon camera on your phone. You get what I'm saying? That's not an actual physical camera. That's an icon. That's a button. That's not an actual button. It's on a touch screen, and it's a visual representation of a concept that's behind the icon. So the icon is representative of all the actions that are going to take place when you tap the icon, but it's not the actual thing. So the same way that this table could, in theory, be an icon of something else that's happening outside of, let's say, the UV spectrum that I can process, or the heat spectrum that I can't even see, or the subatomic particles that may not even really be particles. They might just be energy waves. And then I'm only able to see this thing because I'm paying attention to it. And then because I'm the observer, you get what I'm like? And then like you're going through life and you're like, dude, what the fuck are we? Are we conscious energy fields in a larger energy field? And is that energy field conscious? And what's the delineation between all of us or anything? Like, if everything on the earth is alive and growing in some form of a system, is the earth alive? Like, is the earth alive? Is the earth a living thing? Because everything on the, so same thing with you, right? Like, you're alive, but you have like bacteria in your stomach that's alive. But like you are conscious at a different level than that bacteria is conscious, right? But as a whole, that bacteria is operating in a conscious way. Same thing the way that the ants are operating as like a conscious form of ants. So like are the ants individually conscious or are they as a group more conscious? So are we like you know what I'm saying? So this is what I'm thinking about all day long. I'm in the backyard doing breath work, you know what I mean? Like in the sunlight with my balls out. You know what I mean? Like just like vitamin D. It's a precursor to testosterone. And you know, I'm not a doctor, so I can't say this, but I believe it helps anti-aging. Also, I'm not happy that sunscreen causes issues, but it is nice that everybody that's been saying sunscreen causes issues is now being vindicated by all the studies on sunscreen that would have one who's not a medical doctor suppose it's safer to be in the sun than it is to wear sunscreen because sunscreen's actually causing them problems. You know what I'm saying? That it's supposed to be preventing, which is kind of like what we're talking about, which is misdirection, which is what who does the one who deceives. You know what I'm saying? So then it's like, oh shit. When you start looking at everything through that lens, then everything starts making way more sense on a different level. And then you're like, oh shit. Okay, now we're starting to understand the game that we've been unintentionally playing and involved in, but no one told us the rules of the game. But I mean, I believe somebody told us the rules of the game, but people will argue that that's a fictitious semi-historical representation of a time long ago that like oh man they didn't really mean that they don't really like the I know the thing says that the planet is like 6,000 years old but it doesn't really mean that but like does it because it also says that that dude comes to deceive and now you're sounding like you're trying to deceive me from what's in the truth. If you, I don't know, I don't know, guys. We're just out here having fun, man. It's Sunday fun day, right? Uh, yeah, human beings of light. You know what I mean? That's what's a hue. A hue is a shade. A hue is a color. A hue is a variation in a light field, right? What is a hue? A hue is a light. You know what I'm saying? What is that hue? Like, hey, words are spells. That's why it's called spelling. You know what I'm saying? Like it's when you're. What do they say? When the student is ready, the master appears. It's for those who have the ears to hear and the eyes to see. Human color on the light spectrum is a hue. What is God? Consciousness, light. What is our physical presence, man, mixed with what? Godly spirit. Because what are we? Created in his image. You know what I'm saying? We're just out here spitting bars, guys. I love you, man. Meditate on all that. Let's get weird. I appreciate you guys. Hop on with me tomorrow, man. Let's go. I'm having a lot of fun with you guys. Thank you.